All right, we're back. Cool. All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to our study group time. So this is study group, which means we read from a book, we discuss the topics that they are brought up within the book, and we also just engage in spiritual talk about spiritual matters, topics, etc. It's all topical. So no personal readings, guys. For those of you tuning in, wanting a personal reading, that was in the last hour. This is now study group time, which means only study group material. So we are reading The Secret, which is reversed, but that's okay. So The Secret. This is something that I've told many of people about for a long time. I was like obsessed with The Secret when it first came out, and I was able to, when I first heard of The Secret, when I first heard about it, it was on interestingly enough, on the Oprah show, back in the mid 2000s, and they were discussing the film, and so I saw the film and immediately connected with the film because it helped me to understand a lot of things about energy and manifestation and law of attraction and our ability to like bring things into our lives and connect and align with things. So I became obsessed about it, and I spent a lot of time and years trying to manifest and practice manifesting. Some years not very successful at all, and then some years very successful. But I have a pretty good idea of how this works and how to use it. And I approach things in a very different way today versus back when I first started this journey. So the book is the book came out after the film. Interestingly enough, the film came out first, and the film is like a documentary style film. And there's a lot of spiritual teachers and experts in their field who are contributors to the film. Even Abraham, is it Abraham? Yeah, Abraham, Jerry and Esther Hicks and Abraham. They were actually in the first or in the original film, and then it got redone because Jerry and Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham, they were not happy with some of the agreements that they had in place with the author of the book or the producer of the film, and so they decided to just stop with the first version and they redid it, and then the second version is the one that became the most popular. And so that's the one that I heard about. So and I actually like the second one more so than the first one, even though I connect more with Abraham and Jerry and Esther Hicks. But the second one I think there was a lot more to it that I think helps people to understand The Secret. But whenever I'm telling you guys, like you should watch the film The Secret, this is what it's based on. It's based on the DVD. So this is the book that came out after the film, and the book has a lot more extras in it than the film does, but just watching the film would do it for you. But I like it, and I wanted to offer you guys who have not watched the film, who have never read the book, to go through the process of rereading it, because there's a lot of things I learned about law of attraction, and there's a lot of things I learned about manifesting and alignment that I did not know at the time when I first watched the film. And after years and years and years of practice and understanding this process, I now have a much better grasp of this. But people who will watch the film or read the book, immediately there's a crap load of mistakes that people tend to do. There's a crap load of repeating mistakes that they do. And then they make these mistakes and then they don't get the results they expect. And then they say, oh, this doesn't work. None of this works. This is all just, hogwash. And so that's because they don't fully grasp how to use this. And honestly, even though the book is really good at explaining and helping to understand the mechanisms of manifestation and law of attraction, it doesn't really do a thorough job of teaching a person how to actually do it. And that's the thing that I think it could have been done a bit more. It could have been a lot better done. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to read the material in the book, and then we're going to discuss it, and I'll stop after sections and explain it. And I'll give you examples because I have tons of examples from my own life that I can pull from. But yeah, so let me see what you guys are saying here. Gently, thank you, Ferny, for doing this, even though you're tired, Ferny. I mean, think of it this way. It's like, it's like telling, like if someone has a child, thank you for being a mother, even though you're tired. Like, you don't have, like, this is your job. This is what you signed up for. So this is what you're going to do regardless of whether you're tired or not. And yeah, even though I'm tired, it's my job. It's what I'm here. It's what I signed up for on a soul level. So I got to do it. But yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that, Gently. let's see, one of my favorite books. Yeah, it's one of my favorite books as well. It's a beginner book. This is how I think of it. People think that The Secret is like the go-to. No. The Secret, I always think of The Secret as the appetizer before the main course. So I know what the main course tastes like, and I know books that actually have the main course, but this is a good starting point. This is a good appetizer. So if you're not familiar with seafood, then try a shrimp, and you'll be like, oh, that's an example of seafood. So you can start to like kind of move in that direction. Cassie's like, it is a great beginner info stepping stone. Yeah, see, she's already aware this is a really good starting point for some of this as well. So for sure. Cassie's like, what do you think about Esther Hicks? I have been watching some content lately. Esther Hicks. So I actually there was a video. I don't know whatever happened to the video, but there's an audio of me. I attended a Esther and Abraham event once back in Houston when they were there. This thing was in like in 2000 and I think this was in 2000 and 2012, maybe 2011, 2012, maybe it's around that time. And I went to one of those events, and I was selected, and I was able to talk to Abraham, and it's recorded somewhere, so I have the recording somewhere. But I was able to talk to Abraham, so that was pretty cool. I love Esther Hicks. I think, and her book is great. Ask and It Is Given by Jerry and Esther Hicks, and then also The Law of Attraction, which is basically like a similar to the Ask and It Is Given, but there's a little more technicality to it. I love them. I think that's great. The only issue with the material is that it's hard to put it. I prefer applicable strategies, meaning not just talking about something, but the application of it. And I think in many ways, the way that she guides, or the way that Abraham guides in the application of using this, I feel like it could be done a bit better. I feel like it could be made a little easier because it's very much intellectually, it's a mental process, and they focus a lot more on mental stuff. But I feel like we really need to have more of a cooperation or cooperative between what we're thinking and feeling inside of ourselves, our state of being, and then also what we're doing, and just having physical applicable steps or strategic steps to take can help you get there further and help you understand this. Some of the first experiences I had with Law of Attraction or with the idea of this was back when I worked at Starbucks, where I used to be like, I would be on the bar and making drinks, and people would come in and order their drinks. We had this was back in early 2000s, mid 2000s, and this was back then I worked at the River Oaks 2 Starbucks, which is one of the River Oaks stores. There used to be 3 in the corner of like Shepherd and West Gray, and then I worked at the big one with the drive-through. But I used to notice when during the day, this would happen all the time, and it always got my curiosity, like, why is that? I want to know why that's happening. And I would be at the bar, someone would come in, they would order their drink, they would order like a grande white mocha. So then I'd started grande white mocha at the bar. And then someone through the drive-thru, not connected to the person at the register, would come through and order a grande white mocha with extra whip. And so then that would become the drink next. And then the next drink would be a grande white mocha with no whip. And so it's almost like similar drinks, but they were by different people. And then people would come in and order, I want a grande non-fat 2 equal latte. And so that they would order that, and then someone else would come in right after them and order a grande non-fat 2 equal latte. And so it's like a slight difference, but it's the same essential drink. So I would see these repeating patterns, and I'm like, that is the craziest thing. How are we going to have like 7 different people or 10 different people come in and all order like similar drinks, but they're not together, they're not with each other, and they're ordering the same stuff? And I never got it, and I never understood it, and I was wondered. I'm like, why is this happening? What is causing this? There's something. And what I thought was, this is connected to the mysteries of the universe. If I can just understand this, then I will get some of these mysteries. And so I would always attach it to that. But then it wasn't until I saw The Secret and I started reading it, then I realized what that was and what it was about. So, all right, so let's get started here. And I'm going to come back and answer some of your questions with regards to the material. Remember, this is study group time, so no personal questions. This is all The Secret. And so we're going to read, I will just stop, and then I'll kind of comment on some of the areas, okay? And I'll come back and see what y'all ask me. So we'll start at chapter 1 because I want to start at the first chapter, right? Yeah, the first chapter. So The Secret Revealed by Bob Proctor. The secret gives you anything you want: happiness, health, and wealth. Dr. Joe Vitale You can have, do, or be anything you want. John Asroff. We can have whatever it is that we choose. I don't care how big it is. What kind of a house do you want to live in? Do you want to be a millionaire? What kind of a business do you want to have? Do you want more success? What do you really want? Dr. John DeMartini. This is the great secret of life. I don't think I need to go through each name just because that's going to get too repetitive. So I'm just going to read what they're saying. The leaders in the past who had the secret wanted to keep the power and not share the power. They kept people ignorant of the secret. People went to work, they did their job, they came home, they were on a treadmill with no power because the secret was kept in the few, which I disagree with. I think they just did that for just to kind of build up the momentum of the book. I don't actually think that people kept this to themselves. I think people, when you grow up in a specific, when you grow up in the higher, when you come from a place of wealth or privilege, there's a given. There's a method of operating. There's a method of thinking. There's a method of conceiving and perceiving things that is a given. You were conditioned into that way. I wouldn't call that something that people go out of their ways to keep people from knowing or to keep people from having. I don't think that's it at all. In some instances, you might have people who want to just focus on how they know this works and use it to their advantage. But there are plenty of people in the past who wrote about this. Throughout history, there have been many who coveted the knowledge of the secret, and there have been many who found a way of spreading this knowledge to the world, which is what I agree with. I've seen many miracles take place in people's lives. Financial miracles, miracles of physical healing, mental healing, healing of relationships. All of this happened because of knowing how to apply the secret. So the question is, what is the secret? You've probably been sitting there wondering, what is the secret? I'll tell you how I've come to understand this. We all work with one infinite power. We all guide ourselves by exactly the same laws. The natural laws of the universe are so precise that we don't even have any difficulty building spaceships. We can send people to the moon, and we can time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second. Wherever you are, India, Australia, New Zealand, Stockholm, London, Toronto, Montreal, or New York, we're all working with one power, one law. It's attraction. The secret is the law of attraction. Everything that's coming into your life, you are attracting into your life. And it's attracted to you by virtue of the images you're holding in your mind. It's what you're thinking. Whatever is going on in your mind, you are attracting to you. Every thought of yours is a real thing, a force. The greatest teachers who have ever lived have told us that the law of attraction is the most powerful law in the universe. Poets such as William Shakespeare, Robert Browning, and William Blake delivered it in their poetry. Musicians such as Ludwig van Beethoven expressed it through their music. Artists such as Leonardo da Vinci depicted it in their paintings. Great thinkers including Socrates, Plato, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Pythagoras, Sir Francis Bacon, Sir Isaac Newton, Johann Wolfgang von Gogh, and Victor Hugo shared it in their writings and teachings. Their names have been immortalized, and their legendary existence has survived centuries. Religions such as Hinduism, Hermetic traditions, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and civilizations such as the ancient Babylonians and Egyptians delivered it through their writings and stories, recorded throughout the ages in all its forms. The law can be found in ancient writings through all the centuries. It was recorded in stone in 3000 BC. Even though some coveted this knowledge, and indeed they did, it has always been there for anyone to discover. The law began at the beginning of time. It has always been and will always be. It is the law that determines the complete order in the universe, every moment of your life, and every single thing you experience in your life. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are. The law of attraction is forming your entire life experience, and this all-powerful law is doing that through your thoughts. You are the one who calls the law of attraction into action, and you do it through your thoughts. In 1912, Charles Hannell described the law of attraction as the greatest and most infallible law upon which the entire system of creation depends. Wise people have always known this. You can go right back to the ancient Babylonians. They've always known this. It's a small select group of people. The ancient Babylonians and their great prosperity have been well documented by scholars. They are also known for creating one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Through their understanding and application of the laws of the universe, they became one of the wealthiest races in history. Why do you think that 1% of the population earns around 96% of all the money that's being earned? Do you think that's an accident? It's designed that way. They understand something. They understand the secret, and now you are being introduced to the secret. People who have drawn wealth into their lives used the secret. Whether consciously or unconsciously, they think thoughts of abundance and wealth, and they do not allow any contradictory thoughts to take root in their minds. Their predominant thoughts are of wealth. They only know wealth, and nothing else exists in their minds. Whether they are aware of it or not, their predominant thoughts of wealth are what brought wealth to them. It is the law of attraction in action. A perfect example to demonstrate the secret and the law of attraction in action is this. You may know of people who acquired massive wealth, lost it all, and within a short time acquired massive wealth again. What happened in these cases, whether they knew it or not, is that their dominant thoughts were on wealth. That is how they acquired it in the first instance. Then they allowed fearful thoughts of losing the wealth to enter their minds. Until those fearful thoughts of loss became their dominant thoughts, they tipped the scales from thinking thoughts of wealth to thinking thoughts of loss, and so they lost it all. Once they had lost it, however, the fear of loss disappeared, and they tipped the scales back with dominant thoughts of wealth, and wealth returned. The law represents to your thoughts, the law responds to your thoughts, no matter what they may be. Like attracts like. The simplest way for me to look at the law of attraction is if I think of myself as a magnet, and I know that a magnet will attract to it. You are the most powerful magnet in the universe. You contain a magnetic power within you that is more powerful than anything in this world. And this unfathomable magnetic power is emitted through your thoughts. Basically put, the law of attraction says that like attracts like. But we're really talking at a level of thought. The law of attraction says like attracts like. And so as you think a thought, you are also attracting like thoughts to you. Here are more examples you may have experienced of the law of attraction in your life. Have you ever started to think about something you were not happy about, and the more you thought about it, the worse it seemed? That's because as you think one sustained thought, the law of attraction immediately brings more like thoughts to you. In a matter of minutes, you have gotten so many like unhappy thoughts coming to you that the situation seems to be getting worse. The more you think about it, the more upset you get. You may have experienced attracting like thoughts when you listened to a song and then found that you couldn't get that song out of your head. The song just kept playing over and over in your mind. When you listened to that song, even though you may not have realized it, you gave your full attention and focus of thought to it. As you did that, you were powerfully attracting more like thoughts of that song. And so the law of attraction moved into action and delivered more thoughts of that song over and over again. Our job as humans is to hold on to the thoughts of what we want, make it absolutely clear in our minds what we want, and from that we start to invoke one of the greatest laws in the universe, and that's the law of attraction. You become what you think about most. but you also attract what you think about most. Your life right now is a reflection of your past thoughts. That includes all the great things and all the things you consider not so great. Since you attract to you what you think about most, it is easy to see what your dominant thoughts have been on every subject of your life, because that is what you have experienced until now. Now you are learning the secret, and with this knowledge, you can change everything. If you see it in your mind, you're going to hold it in your hand. If you can think about what you want in your mind and make that your dominant thought, you will bring it into your life. And that principle can be summed up in 3 simple words: thought become things. Through this most powerful law, your thoughts become the things in your life. Your thoughts become things. Say this over to yourself and let it seep into your consciousness and your awareness. Your thoughts become things. What most people don't understand is that a thought has a frequency. We can measure a thought, and so if you're thinking that thought over and over and over again, if you're imagining in your mind having that brand new race car, if you're imagining in your mind having that brand new car, having the money that you need, building that company, finding your soulmate, if you're imagining what that looks like, you're emitting that frequency on a constant basis. Thoughts are sending out that magnetic signal that is drawing the parallel back to you. The predominant thought or the mental attitude is the magnet, and the law is that like attracts like. Consequently, the mental attitude will invariably attract such conditions as correspond to its nature. Thoughts are magnetic, and thoughts have a frequency. Thoughts are magnetic and thoughts have a frequency. As you think, those thoughts are sent out into the universe, and they magnetically attract all like things that are on the same frequency. Everything sent out returns to the source, and the source is you. Think of it this way. We understand that a television station's transmission tower broadcasts via a frequency which is transformed into pictures on your television. Most of us don't really understand how it works, but we know that each channel has a frequency, and when we tune into that frequency, we see the pictures on your television. We choose the frequency by selecting the channel, and we then receive the pictures broadcast on that channel. If we want to see different pictures on your television, we change the channel and tune into a new frequency. You are a human transmission tower, and you are more powerful than any television tower created on Earth. You are the most powerful transmission tower in the universe. Your transmission creates your life, and it creates the world. The frequency you transmit reaches beyond cities, beyond countries, beyond the world. It reverberates throughout the entire universe, and you are transmitting that frequency with your thoughts. The pictures you receive from the transmission of your thoughts are not on a television screen in your living room. They are the pictures of your life. Your thoughts create the frequency. They attract like things on that frequency, and then they broadcast back to you as your life pictures. If you want to change anything in your life, change the channel and change the frequency by changing your thoughts. The vibrations of mental forces, The vibrations of mental forces are the finest and consequently the most powerful in existence. See yourself living in abundance and you will attract it. It works every time with every person. As you think of yourself living in abundance, you are powerfully and consciously determining your life through the law of attraction. It's that easy. But then the most obvious question becomes, why isn't everybody living the life of their dreams? Attract the good instead of the bad. Here's the problem. Most people are thinking about what they don't want, and they're wondering why it shows up over and over again. The only reason why people do not have what they want is because they are thinking more about what they don't want than what they do want. Listen to your thoughts and listen to the words you are saying. The law is absolute and there are no mistakes. An epidemic worse than any plague that humankind has ever seen has been raging for centuries. It is the don't want epidemic. People keep this epidemic alive when they predominantly think, speak, act, and focus on what they don't want. But this is the generation that will change history, because we are receiving the knowledge that can free us of this epidemic. It begins with you, and you can become a pioneer of this new thought movement by simply thinking and speaking about what you want. The law of attraction doesn't care whether you perceive something to be good or bad, or whether you don't want it or whether you do want it. It's responding to your thoughts. So if you're looking at a mountain of debt, feeling terrible about it, that's the signal you're putting out into the universe. I feel really bad because all of this debt I've got. You're just affirming it to yourself. You feel it on every level of your being. That's what you're going to get more of. The law of attraction is a law of nature. It is impersonal, and it does not see good things or bad things. It is receiving your thoughts and reflecting back to you those thoughts as your life experience. The law of attraction simply gives you whatever it is you are thinking about. The law of attraction is really obedient. When you think of the things that you want and you focus on them with all of your intention, then the law of attraction will give you exactly what you want every time. When you focus on the things that you don't want, I don't want to be late. I don't want to be late. The law of attraction doesn't hear that you don't want it. It manifests the things that you're thinking of. And so it's going to show up over and over and over again. The law of attraction is not biased to wants or don't wants. When you focus on something, no matter what it happens to be, you really are calling that into existence. When you focus your thoughts on something you want and you hold that focus, you are in that moment summoning what you want with the magnificent power in the universe. The law of attraction doesn't compute don't or not or no or any other words of negation. As you speak words of negation, this is what the law of attraction is receiving. I don't want to spill something on this outfit. What is actually being received is, I want to spill something on this outfit and I want to spill it and I want to spill more things. I don't want a bad haircut. What you're actually saying is, I want a bad haircut. I don't want to be delayed. What you're saying is, I want delays. I don't want that person to be rude to me. What you're saying is, I want that person and more people to be rude to me. I don't want the restaurant to give away our table. What you're actually saying is, I want restaurants to give away our tables. I don't want these shoes to hurt. What you're actually saying is, I want shoes to hurt. I can't handle all this work. What you're getting is, I want more work than I can handle. I don't want to catch the flu. What you're getting is, I want the flu and I want to catch more things. I don't want to argue. What you're getting is, I want more arguing. Don't speak to me like that. You're actually getting, I want you to speak to me like that and I want other people to speak to me like that. The law of attraction is giving you what you are thinking about, period. The law of attraction is always working, whether you believe it or understand it or not. The law of attraction is the law of creation. Quantum physicists tell us that the entire universe emerged from thought. You create your life through your thoughts and the law of attraction, and every single person does the same. It doesn't just work if you know about it. It has always been working in your life and every other person's life throughout history. When you become aware of this great law, then you become aware of how incredibly powerful you are to be able to think your life into existence. It's working as much as you're thinking. Anytime your thoughts are flowing, the law of attraction is working. When you're thinking about the past, the law of attraction is working. When you're thinking about the present or the future, the law of attraction is working. It's an ongoing process. You don't press pause, you don't press stop. It is forever in action as your thoughts are. Whether we realize it or not, we are thinking most of the time. If you are speaking or listening to someone, you are thinking. If you are reading the newspaper or watching television, you are thinking. When you recall memories from your past, you are thinking. When you are considering something in your future, you are thinking. When you are driving, you are thinking. When you are getting ready in the morning, you are thinking. For many of us, the only time we are not thinking is when we are asleep. However, the forces of attraction are still operating on our last thoughts as we fall asleep. Make your last thoughts before going to sleep good thoughts. Creation is always happening. Every time an individual has a thought or a prolonged chronic way of thinking, they're in the creation process. Something is going to manifest out of those thoughts. What you are thinking now is creating your future life. You create your life with your thoughts because you are always thinking, you are always creating. What you think about the most or focus on the most is what will appear as your life. Like all the laws of nature, this is utter perfection in this law. You create your life. Whatever you sow, you reap. Your thoughts are seeds, and the harvest you reap will depend on the seeds you plant. If you are complaining, the law of attraction will powerfully bring into your life more situations for you to complain about. If you are listening to someone else complain and focusing on that, sympathizing with them, agreeing with them, in that moment you are attracting more situations to yourself to complain about. The law is simply reflecting and giving back to you exactly what you are focused on with your thoughts. With this powerful knowledge, you can completely change every circumstance and event in your life, in your entire life, by changing the way you think. I have a student named Robert who was taking an online course part of which entails email access to me. Robert was gay. He outlined all of the grim realities of his life in his email to me. In his job, his coworkers ganged up on him. It was constantly stressful because of how nasty they were with him. When he walked down the street, he was accosted by homophobic people who wanted to abuse him in some way. He wanted to become a stand-up comedian, and when he did a stand-up comedy job, everybody heckled him about being gay. His whole life was one of unhappiness and misery, and it all focused around being attacked because he was gay. I began to teach him that he was focusing on what he did not want. I directed him back to his email that he sent me and said, read it again. Look at all the things you do not want that you're telling me about. I can tell you're very passionate about this. And when you focus on something with a lot of passion, it makes it happen even faster. Then he started taking this thing about focusing on what you want to heart. He began really trying it. What happened within the next 6 to 8 weeks was an absolute miracle. All the people in his office who had been harassing him either transferred to another department, quit working at the company, or started completely leaving him alone. He began to love his job. When he walked down the street, nobody harassed him anymore. They just weren't there. When he did his stand-up comedy routines, he started getting standing ovations, and nobody was heckling him. His whole life changed because he changed from focusing on what he did not want, what he was afraid of, what he wanted to avoid, to focusing on what he did want. Robert's life changed because he changed his thoughts. He emitted a different frequency out into the universe. The universe must deliver the pictures of the new frequency, no matter how impossible the situation might seem. Robert's new thoughts became his new frequency, and the pictures of his entire life changed. Your life is in your hands. No matter where you are, no matter what has happened in your life, you can begin to consciously choose your thoughts, and you can change your life. There is no such thing as a hopeless situation. Every single circumstance of your life can change. And I'll stop there because I think that's a good stopping point. That's page 19. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. So I'm glad you used the example of like Robert and being gay and being heckled. So, I dealt with a lot of incessant teasing growing up. I mean, I was teased by family members. I was teased by kids in school for being gay. And so elementary school, I was teased. Middle school, I was teased. It wasn't until I got to high school that things started to change. And it changed because I took a karate class. So in my junior year of high school, I took a karate class. And it was in junior. Yeah, it Was it my junior year? I think it was it was my junior year. I took a karate class, and in the class, that was a very new thing for me because I was not someone who was very self-empowered. I didn't think highly of myself. I believed the nasty things that people said about me, which was I didn't deserve love, I had no value, I had no worth, and I didn't have anything to offer this world, and I was either evil or broken or something. It's some version of that, and that was something that I was just conditioned into believing over the many experiences of my life, and school just affirmed that with all of the bullying. So I took a karate class, and in the class we were taught and conditioned to be empowered, because through the physical activities and the sparring that we did in the class and the mindset, there's a mindset that goes into martial arts that you have to have. There's a lot of respect that goes into it. You respect others, they respect you. You have a power to injure and to hurt, and you have to be careful with how you use that power. So you have to be responsible. And so and not only that, I was able to see myself in these sparring exercises. I was able to see myself as a powerful person. I was experiencing myself as a powerful person. And not only that, but because I was able to maneuver and I was able to perform certain martial arts maneuvers that were not easy to perform, I felt even stronger about myself. I felt even more intentional about myself. I felt more aware of myself as someone of value. So that started to shift something within myself. So over the course of several weeks and months of being in this class, I started to notice a shift in myself. I felt more confident in myself. I respected myself. I had respect for other people in a different way. And I knew that if I ever got into a fight or someone came for me, I was going to be able to defend myself. And not only that, but I got a lot of praise in my class, and I got a lot of praise from my teacher. So I felt good. It really did a number on me, and I felt really good about myself. And what I noticed is that as that school year progressed, there was less bullying. People weren't messing with me. People were just like leaving me alone. And if anything, I started to have more people wanting to befriend me. So I was like, well, something's going on here. Something was shifting. Something was changing. It wasn't because I suddenly was no longer a target for being teased and harassed. They just focused their attention on others who were better targets for them. But I just was no longer the target. And it's not like I got into any confrontations with people or that everybody knew I was suddenly in karate. Just people left me alone, and people were kinder to me, and they were much more respectful. And it started with that class because of what happened inside my brain and how I felt about myself. So that was the change. That was the shift. This is why I tell people, like, if you are suffering from trauma in your life, if you are suffering from being, either molested, raped, traumatized by being bullied or by being, harassed, etc., I always recommend that people take a martial arts class or a taekwondo class, because just by the action itself, it's a very empowering activity. And just by having that sense of empowerment, you start to think about things in a very different way. Now, the secret focuses more on thoughts. Thoughts. Everything is thoughts. I disagree with that, because I don't think it's just thoughts. From what I've learned through my experiences, it's not just about what I think. It's about what I think, what I believe, what I choose, and how I emotionally respond, and then what I do. So it's a whole host of things. It's not just thoughts. Thoughts may be the starting point. Thoughts are like think of when you're playing the slots. When you're playing the slots, if you put like a dollar in or whatever, that can keep rolling. You can keep that rolling with just that $1 or with that one coin or whatever. You can keep it rolling. It's like the beginning stage of it. So the thought is the lead up, but it's not based in just thoughts, because you can think all the positive thoughts or all of these thoughts in your mind about what you're wanting to create or what you're wanting to attract. It is not enough. Thoughts are not going to get you there. There are some things that may happen much easily with just thinking, but that's because you have less resistance built up to those things. If I am coming from the hood and I'm trying to think positive and manifest $1 million, the likelihood of that happening is very slim. And the reason for that is because my relationship with money, what I believe about money, how I emotionally feel towards money, how I act towards money, there's this whole amount, there's a crap load of resistance that's built up there. And so even if I'm trying to think all these positive thoughts about money and then I'm going to make, manifest or attract $1 million, I have an entire lifetime of conditioning that I'm going up against. So the likelihood of that happening is slim to none. You have to work on the energy of money. You have to work on your relationship with money. You have to improve how you interact and engage and deal with money. That's what you focus on. And then you can think of all the positive thoughts about money that you want to think about. But if you take those steps and focus on improving your relationship with money, you're going to feel better about money to begin with. You're going to feel better. And by feeling better, you start to think more positive thoughts about money. So you can use emotions and actions, and you can use that to shift your thinking. If you start ass backwards, which most people tend to start ass backwards. Oh my God, this book just said, if I think about a lot of money, I'm going to have a lot of money. But I'm going to, in the next 5 minutes, completely go back to what I'm normally doing, which is I'm freaking out because I owe this gas bill. Or, oh shit, I owe my car payment. Or, oh my God, how am I going to cover that for next month because they need money for this school? Or whatever. So if you're thinking about that, and then you're charging up a credit card knowing damn well that you can't pay that off, or knowing damn well that you're not going to be able to pay that back anytime soon, and you're like trying to still maintain the status quo of what you're used to and trying to give yourself a better experience, but you know that you don't have the money to cover that, you're actually just going to feel worse about spending the money on the credit card or charging it up because you know you can't pay for that. You're wishfully thinking that one day, like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a crappy title. It means nothing unless you've actually attempted businesses. You have a lot of people walking around saying, I'm an entrepreneur, and they're just trying to like intentionally think positively about that, but they have never started a business. They've never attempted it. They've never even filed the documentation or the paperwork for a business in their name, but yet they call themselves an entrepreneur. Then they're just, at that point, you're not positively thinking. You're not doing anything that is going to benefit you. All you're doing is just lying to yourself and trying to live within the delusion because you're lazy and you don't want to do anything to help yourself get there. That's what that's about. So if you want to have a better relationship with money, you can't just think good thoughts about money. You can't just wishfully think for money to fall out of the sky into your lap. You can't be every single night obsessively dreaming about a situation where you have a lot of money. You have to take steps that will start to move you in that direction. And it starts with your thinking, because if you're thinking positively for 1 hour a day, but you're spending the rest of the day freaking out and stressing out over money, or feeling crappy about money, or getting triggered over money in a negative way, you're literally doing nothing of nothing. You're not doing anything. So what I say is you can think great things about money, but just focus on where you're at. Start with your starting point, which is, okay, today, this is what's in my bank account. Today, this is how I deal with my money. So I get paid on this day. This is how I deal with it. Or today, this is all of my expenses. And so start there. And any simple changes you can make to reduce the amount of money going out and to increase the amount of money that you're holding on to, that's the first thing you should do. By just doing that, at first you might feel like crap because you don't want to stop having certain things. You may have to cancel that Netflix. You may have to stop, you may have to acknowledge that you can't pay for that BMW because you're going into debt. And so you may just need to need to exchange that in for a vehicle that you can afford or something that's cheaper, or refinance your shit. But do whatever you can in the moment to just improve your feeling about your current financial situation. And by just taking simple steps there, you're going to feel better, even if you feel crappy at first because you feel like you're poor because you're having to like stop paying for certain things. That's okay, because you're going to feel better when you start to feel like you're more in control of your finances. So that's the first step, is just to feel better about that. And then you can start, once you start to feel better about money, then you can start to think ahead. Okay, now what would I want to do? How do I want to move forward with this? And so then you can start to plan out how you can start to improve or increase your chances of increasing more revenue, more income, or just investing and learning about investing. Even just the learning of investing when you feel better about your money situation is better than walking around calling yourself an entrepreneur and reading stuff about investing, but not actually doing anything to improve your money situation, not improving your situation to be able to invest, and just thinking that in some way you're going to suddenly strike it rich by just, buying 50 Doge coins. It doesn't happen that way. Like, you need to be realistic with yourself. And so you need to improve your relationship with money. And so that's what I talk about, and that's what I focus on. Okay, so let me see what you guys are asking me here about the stuff. I love Esther Hicks as well. Yeah, it broke my heart when Jerry passed away, because he passed away from cancer. I believe it was cancer. He passed away from cancer. But it broke my heart when he passed away. But right after he passed, it took a few weeks or a few months before she started doing like events again. And in one of the first ones, she's channeling Abraham, and Abraham's coming through. And the moment that Abraham starts to speak on Jerry, you can tell that she breaks the channel. She breaks the connection. And in the moment, she has to gather herself, because Abraham started trying to come through, but she remembers Jerry, and it hits her. And so she has to like take a moment to get back into that objective state to be able to allow for Abraham to come back into the state of being. And so it broke my heart when that happened. But yeah, it was, I love Jerry and Esther Hicks. By the way, guys, we're not doing personal readings, guys, so we're doing our study group time. So everything that we're doing right now is all study group. So no personal readings, no personal questions. It's all like spiritual questions or law of attraction questions, or just questions that have to do with the book itself. Thank you, Cassidy. Appreciate that. Hey, Red Robin. Yeah, thoughts are the moment of thoughts. Think of thoughts as when you're waking up in the morning. When you wake up and you're conscious, that is what a thought is. A thought is a conscious idea that has the ability to amplify or to align with more of the same. And once you have enough thought kind of coming together, then you create a grouping or a collection of energy. Now, if we're in spirit form, thoughts are instantaneous. So whatever you think, it's in front of you, like you're wherever you think yourself at. So it's an instantaneous thing. Because we're in the physical form, everything is slowed down intentionally for us to be in this form. And so our energy vibration is slowed down. Our spiritual energy is slowed down. Everything is, it's almost like a transformer. This is what the chakra system is. The chakra system is it's like a transformer. When you have power coming from the electric company and they're going to the residence or to your house, it's not going directly from there to your house. Your house would blow up. All the things, electrical stuff in your house would blow up if it was directly tied in. The energy has to be reduced. It has to be like dimmed a bit. It has to be weakened. And so these transformers, what they do is they basically like reduce the intensity of the energy so that it can basically support the stuff that you plug in. And so our chakra system is a system of reduction. It's an energy reducing system that is intentionally there to help cycle down our energy to the physical state. And so that is what it's designed to do. It's just a series of energy points that reduces and slows it, reduces, slows it, reduces, slows it until we're physical. And so when we think of thoughts, a thought is a very high frequency energy. It won't become something in this state or in this physical form, in this reality, until it's slowed down enough. And what tends to slow down the thought, what tends to slow down that pure form of energy, is our emotional attachment to things, our beliefs, our experiences, and our actions. Because what's happening there is there are several different ways of taking the thought
in its purest form and slowing it down so that it becomes manifested in this physical form. And there's a lot of ways of doing that, but those are so when I have an idea, it means nothing. Nothing will come from that idea. Now, if it's an idea that is if it's something that can be easily created in this reality and I have no resistance to it, meaning like if I have the idea of let's say I have an idea of a pink giraffe. I'm thinking of a pink giraffe, right? And so I'm like, oh, pink giraffe, that would be cute. I wonder if there's like a pink giraffe stuffed animal. I wonder if there's something to do with a pink giraffe stuffed animal or a little like, pink thing. And so I have no resistance towards that because that has no meaning for me. And so because there has no meaning in it for me, it doesn't really have a charge, but it also doesn't have any resistance either. And so when I think of that, and then I think of myself having a pink giraffe and then giving, that's a pink, right? Yeah, pink giraffe, and then giving it as a gift to my partner's sister who is in love with the color pink, then I think of myself, oh, there would be a pink giraffe and I could give that to Lisa. She would love it. She loves pink giraffes. And I can see myself giving her the gift of a pink giraffe. Then I can see that as it has meaning at that point. So it's something that I enjoy. I'm already feeling good about it. It's something that I would like to give her. She would probably appreciate it. I can already see that playing out in my head. So already there's a positive charge around it because I'm starting to feel that way. So then if I were to go online right now and if I were to say, okay, I'm going to look up pink giraffes, right? So then I go over, let's go to Amazon really quickly. And then if I spend an hour or I spend 30 minutes or whatever on Amazon and I'm trying to find a pink giraffe, trying to find it, but all the ones that I'm seeing are not really like going to make me happy. They're not exactly what I was thinking in my head. And I'm just like, nah, it's not the one I wanted, but whatever. I'm like, that's okay. I'll deal with it later. And if I decide, okay, I'll deal with it later, because if I start to look and I encounter resistance, I don't feel good anymore. So I have to stop myself before I start to accumulate or build too much resistance around it, because I'm already thinking positive. I'm already thinking around it. I've already perceived or visually seen it through an experience that I produce in my mind. I applied meaning to it, and I believe that this is something easily achievable. So already there's a huge charge for it to be physical. And so if I think to myself, if I go online and look for a pink giraffe, then I'm taking a physical action to manifest and to bring it into fruition. But if I start going through all the pink giraffes on Amazon and I'm not happy with them, at that point, I'm starting to create a negative charge. And then what will happen is the negative charge, if it amplifies and becomes stronger, at that point, I got a stalemate. So once I start to feel crappy about doing something and it feels worse and worse to me, I step back and say, no, I'll just look another time, or I'll find one, or I'll see one, and then I can give that to her. And so in my mind, I came to a resolution about it. I said, okay, I don't want to feel bad about this. I know this is achievable for me. Then I will figure it out in time, or I'll take care of it down the road, or when we get closer to Christmas or closer to her birthday, then I'll get her one then. And so I came to a resolution. I came to peace with it in my mind. But I've already done everything to try to manifest it. And so at this point, that energy, that's a charge. That's gone out already. So the likelihood of something happening and me ending up with a pink giraffe without me trying is more likely, just because I've already attempted it. So that's the way that this is one way of doing it. But when you think of bigger things like I want to buy a new house, or I want a better job, or I want a partner, or someone that I can call a lover, or whatever, there's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of like pushback with those things. And unfortunately, the more resistance you have, the more you have to work through and clear up before you can start to get closer to an ideal version of it. Because you can manifest a relationship, that doesn't mean you're going to manifest an ideal one, because if all the relationships you've had are crappy, shitty relationships, and when I say love or relationship or anything that has to do with that, you're not going to be thinking about this future ideal version. You're going to be immediately triggered to a memory. And if the first thing that comes up in your system when you think of love and having love in your life is a memory of a crappy relationship, that's your charge. That's what you're going to produce, is not a positive relationship. You're going to produce another one that's cyclical, that's similar to what you've already had, because the first thing that came in your mind, the first thing that came up was that past crap. So you have to work through it. So what you have to do is, there are ways of getting around it, and you have to give yourself enough positive experiences, enough enjoyable experiences, either with people who have the kinds of relationships that you want to desire to manifest, or give yourself practice relationships, meaning date, get to know people,
and this is why I say change your type, because if you date the same type, you'll probably trigger the old pattern. If you date a new type and practice a new type of experience, play around with the new experience, play around with the new type of relationship, then you're shifting it and you're already breaking the consistency that's been there with all the past relationships. And so that's a first starting point. And then practicing a different type of relationship. Handle things differently, try a different approach, but you have to try it out. You have to go in that direction. And so people, they are like sitting around like, I read The Secret and I have an ideal of the perfect mate in my head, and I'm waiting and they haven't shown up, Ferny. They haven't shown up. I'm like, okay, well, how often are you thinking about love? Well, I think about it a lot, all right, yeah, so did you think about it today? Yeah, I thought about love today, yeah. And when you thought about love, what thoughts were you thinking? Oh, well, I was thinking about, like, what are they going to look like, and like they're going to have a good job, and there's not a lot of stress there, really. Oh, you thought about that today? Yeah, I thought about that today. Cool. And did you have any memories surface when you were thinking about that? Did you think about any exes or any past relationship? Well, yeah, I mean, I was dating an ass, and I've been through it, and I just like every time I don't want to have that again. I don't want to repeat that. I want to change, but I'm so brokenhearted, and all of a sudden they go into this spiral, and they go into talking about and bringing up all that old energy in that pattern, and you hear them talk about it. They spend a lot more time talking about that and about the crap that they had to deal with, and a lot less time focused on the perception of a new relationship, or the idea of a new relationship, or the attempt with a new relationship. And so at that point, you already know where your charge is at. And so you've got way too much attached to the prior and not enough attached to what's coming up or what you are desiring and requesting from the universe. Oh yeah, you can. I mean, you could totally manifest money. I mean, I've manifested money myself as well. There's a woman who her name is Cynthia Stanford, and she lives in California. And there's a story about her. And so she was practicing law of attraction. She had been doing it for a while. It's funny because when you look into her story, they're not very. People think that if I just think about winning the lottery, it's going to happen. And she claimed that she thought about winning the lottery and that it happened. And so that's not exactly what happened, because there was a lot more work and effort that went into it. But the way that the story was presented was that she did it one day and then a few days later she won the lottery. That's not what happened. What happened was that she'd been working on energy and shifting her energy for a while. And I want to say it may have been more than a year. She was doing this for a few years, actually. I think it was 2 or 3 years. But she was working on this, and she was intentionally trying to manifest more wealth, more wealth, more wealth. She wasn't able to do it for herself, but when her brother died and his kids were going to go into the system, she freaked, because she's like, if I could just come up with, if I just had the money, then I could take care of them. They wouldn't have to go into the system. I could take care of them. And she was trying to support herself, support her own children, support her home, pay for her bills, and then support those kids. She didn't have it to support them, but she didn't want them to go into the system. So she was wishing on behalf of others, not on behalf of herself. So she desired, and she focused on it and meditated and meditated and meditated. And the number that she kept focusing on was $112 million. I think it was $112 million or $108 million. It's one or the other. No, it's 112. It's 112. And Cynthia Stanford, look her up. Sure enough, she won $112 million in the lottery. Now, it didn't happen overnight. She spent years working on this, and she wasn't doing it for herself. She was wishing it for others. When you wish from a place of wanting for others and not getting fixated on your own obsession with wealth or all of that, what happens is you unlock the power of the universe, because the universe is in service to all, not just to you. And if what you are desiring is a huge collision with what is aligned for others, you can't push up against that. You have to align in a way where it's aligning with others as well. There's a system in place. Here's what I keep telling people. When you grow up in the hood, or you come from a poor background and you do not have a good relationship with money, it does not matter what you get, because you will not be able to hold on to it. And that's what they talked about in this book, is people who have mass amounts of wealth and then they lose it all and then they get it
get it back again, because they understand that process. Well, what she did was the reverse. She started off not having the best relationship with money, but then she was able to align her energy, and then she won the lottery. And then about 3 or 4 years later, she lost it all and had to file for bankruptcy. And now she doesn't have that money. Even though she did try to do some good things with it, unfortunately, because she was basically prostituted by the people around her, and she fell into the trap of trying to give to everybody and being used, and then also overspending and not having a good relationship with money, it didn't work. And so now she doesn't have it. And so she had to file for bankruptcy. So that's what happens. So it doesn't matter. Even if you get to the point where you can manifest and attract $1 million, who says you're going to be able to hold on to it? Because, and I mean, how the hell do you burn through 112 million? Well, after taxes, it's going to be about 60 million. But still, how the hell you burn through that much money that fast? Girl, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, you had it. You could have done some incredible things. And she did. She donated some money. She started some charities. But again, because you didn't start off that way, you lost it. So she's now trying to repeat she's trying to get it back again. So she's trying to manifest getting the money back, or trying to manifest a new lottery win. So of course, good luck for her. Good luck for that. But yeah, you have to be realistic, guys. So, all right, guys, let me answer a couple more questions, and then I'm going to get off here because it's time for me to go for my walk. Yes, Cass. Well, here's the thing, Cassidy. Breaking the matrix. Our reality, this world, this physical reality, it exists in an established matrix. This matrix is held in place and sustains itself in the way that it does by all of us, because we are all God, and if collectively we all agree this is what this matrix does and is serving, then it will remain that way. It will stay that way. What you get is people who come along who are able to tap into their own unique power, and they can, in a temporary way, bend the matrix to their desire. And so you get people who are able to bend the matrix or manipulate the matrix towards their desire with enough effort or energy, and it really takes more energy than effort. And there are a lot of people who, if they buy into the same matrix or the same type of matrix, they create a matrix within a matrix, a reality within a reality, which we have people in today's day and age who live in a reality within the grander reality. And so with this female, with Cynthia, she was able to bend the matrix to her desire. The problem is she didn't understand all of that process. She didn't understand her role in sustaining and supporting the main matrix. So what ended up happening was a slapback, which means she got what she wanted, but then the bigger matrix said, nope, sorry, you can't stick with this. This isn't going to work for very long, or this isn't going to sustain itself, because you are not realigning with the matrix using this opportunity. You're still pushing up against the matrix with what you are preferring, thinking that you can do more, and the matrix, sorry, slap back. And so it slapped it back into reality, which is the reality is she lost it all and had to file for bankruptcy. So you have to work within the principles of the matrix and respect the matrix. The reality we exist in is the reason it exists the way it exists because it needs to. There's something that needs to be respected within that. So if you're going to bend or manipulate the matrix to your will, go for it, but you still have to honor the reality of the grander matrix, because we all agree to this. We all agree that this is how it is. And so this is why, and this is where The Secret gets it wrong. This is where they don't fully go into this detail, because there is a matrix in play, and you can manipulate, you can align to that creative force in the universe, and if you don't respect the grander matrix and not only manipulate and then realign to the matrix, if you don't intentionally do that, then what will happen is a slap back, and then the matrix will slap you back into its reality and what's established for everybody. Austin Deadly is like, I manifested my home at 27. I told myself I was going to buy a home. I pictured it. I furnished it in my head. I bought my house on my own at 28. Yeah, it's all about, it's great to have goals, but you want to make sure that you are, and it's important that if you set a goal for yourself, what tends to happen is most people, when they set a goal like that for themselves, they make it so big in their head. Oh my God, that's like a fantasy dream, because people like to start to dream about a fantasy reality that they don't actually believe they can achieve. And so they make it grander than itself. What I say is, nope, dumb down the desire. Dumb it down. So say, oh, I want to be a homeowner. And so I want to be a homeowner, and I want to, and so dumb it down or simplify it so that you not only include the bigger dream, you also include some of these smaller components that go along with it. Like, I want to get approved for this much for my home. I want to have a home that is going to, be similar to this. And so you want to focus on these other elements. And then the being a homeowner can be a part of that, but focus on the smaller elements, because you make it small enough that you can take a bite and actually chew on that work. And so if you're trying to get approved, then the first step is to, okay, well, check your credit, make sure everything's okay with your credit. If credit's not working, the first step is to work on your credit and to improve it. Don't just sit around waiting for something to show up to make your credit right. Look into it, look online, etc. Because you will start to find the path of least resistance, and then you can start to align yourself with the bigger goal, which is to be a homeowner, but you have to work yourself to it. And if you are realistic and practical, what will happen is the universe will start to make those smaller steps easier and faster. This is how I would always manifest new employees at my store, because I hated having to hire new people who needed to be trained. Not because I don't want to hire new people who need to be trained, but because Starbucks and the way they set everything up, we didn't really get extra time to train people. It was like on the job training, and we had to take time away and effort away from people who were actually working with customers who were on the floor. And so they wanted us to fit that training in while also busting our asses with a line out the door. That's not going to happen very well. That's not going to work very well, because you can't really help someone train when they don't know what to do and they're standing around and they feel like they're incompetent or they're not achieving anything. And so I just didn't prefer to hire new people who needed to be trained, because we didn't get the time to do it or the resources to do it. I would prefer transfers in. So I always preferred for people to transfer in to the store, because they already came trained, and all I had to do was just retrain them with some refinements the way we like things in the store, and then it was easier. And so I always kept a list in the back of in the office, in my back room. I always kept a list of my to-do list for that week. And so I would always put on there, look at applications, and then hire someone who can fit this time of day. And I because I didn't want to have to do that, I kept moving it to the bottom of the list, and I would tell myself, I'll get to it. I have some time. And so I already would know I have an employee, they're going to be leaving at the end in about 30 days or in about a month. I know I need to have someone hired by that time. And so I would start ahead or early, and I would put it on my list of to-dos. And so I kept creating that list, and every week I would always update the list of what I needed to do that week, and I would always have that on there, and I would just move it down to the bottom of the list because I just didn't want to get to it. I didn't want to do it, and I would focus on doing easier things first. But I was always telling myself, I'll get to it, it'll get done. But because I knew I could do it if I wanted to really quickly, I knew I could get it done faster, I knew that I was already knocking down other things in the list and I was being productive. What ended up happening most times is a week or two before I was supposed to actually hire someone, people would walk into the store and say, hey, my name is so-and-so, I just moved here from Tennessee, and I'm looking for a store, and these are the hours that I'm looking to work. And it would just happen to coincide and fit my requirements for what I was trying to hire. So I wouldn't have to hire people. So I rarely had to hire people into the company or into the store. Most of my people were people who transferred in, and it just worked out that way most times than not. I think I only hired I want to say maybe 4 or 5 people, in a large swath of time, but most of the people who came to work for me or who worked for me were transferred in. So, all right, guys, I am out of time and I've got to get going because I've got to go for my walk. But love you all. I will be back on Wednesday for our next study group time. Okay, love you all.